Hey girl, welcome back to the show. If you have been told recently that you have an unhealthy relationship with food, or maybe you've been just recently diagnosed with an eating disorder, but you're still sort of shell-shocked, then this episode is for you. I'm going to be diving right in on they told me I have a problem with my food and body relationship, so now what? Girl, if you have been in denial or maybe you're still questioning whether or not you even have an eating disorder, I'm not here to diagnose you, but I am here to pour some truth and love into your soul today. Here we go. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess trapped in a destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it so you can start living your best life as your best self. Hey girl, it is a wonderful week. I hope that you are enjoying your summer despite all the craziness that summer may bring to you and your family, and of course all the scheduling. But I wanted to dive in today and talk about coming out of denial. This was massive for me. So I'm going to share my story in today's episode, but I have seen so many questions from many of you around, am I even sure that I have an unhealthy relationship with food and body? I just constantly feel like the world is sharing in terms of diet culture that thin is in, and yes, I'm a healthy eater, but I still eat, and so maybe it's not so bad after all. And I want to encourage you to go listen to the episode where I talk about, are you sick enough? Because sister friend, you most definitely, if you're questioning whether or not you have an unhealthy relationship with food, signs point to you probably do and you are just in denial. But you can go out and listen to the difference between eating disorders and disordered eating, which is one of the very first episodes of the show. And of course, do your research. I encourage you to do that as well. But if a professional clinician and physician or any of the like have given you a diagnosis of whether or not you have an eating disorder, or they have shared with you that there are some really unhealthy behaviors that you're experiencing that are not how individuals would typically eat or how individuals would typically function, right, in their healthiest state, then maybe, just maybe, today's show is for you. I am going to share a little bit about my story and coming out of denial, because this was a massive process for me, and I feel like we don't talk about this enough in this space. And maybe you're there right now. Maybe you just got out of a doctor's office and you're like, oh my gosh, I have anorexia, or oh my gosh, I'm bulimic. Or maybe you feel like you just got hit by a truck with this actual discussion that you had with a clinician or a physician. And so you're feeling a little like, is this true? Is this legit? I don't know. I don't feel sick enough. Girl, I see you. I walked in the doctor office for a pap smear and a checkup, and I left with a diagnosis of an eating disorder. What? I literally felt betrayed, like, by my own clinical team. I felt like, you know what? I went in for something and I came out with something else. And it literally was mind-boggling and baffling to me because I had no idea. Yes, I knew I had behaviors around food. Yes, I knew I had unhealthy behaviors around food. And I even did things that I knew I was hiding and that were secretive to lose weight, to stay super, super small. But I just was in denial that I actually had a problem. And so today's episode is for you if you find yourself there, or maybe you found yourself there. I can't compare my diagnosis with that of what it feels like to be diagnosed with a chronic condition or cancer, but I can imagine that it feels very similar. My initial response was, what? Me? How? No way. Like, you've got it wrong. I don't have an eating disorder. I just am healthier than most people. I was shocked. Sister, how was I here? Was the exact question that I was telling myself. Is this even real life? Maybe I should talk with another professional. Maybe I should talk to another doctor. They got it wrong. Is she sure? Maybe she was just jealous that I was skinnier than her. These are all thoughts that I had in my head when I received a diagnosis. I mean, I knew people were smaller than me, but I also felt like I could still be smaller than I was. And this just wasn't truth. It wasn't real. It wasn't real life. It wasn't possible that I would have a diagnosis. It was this negative connotation, and I left feeling just deflated. You see, my disorder, anorexia, had me so jaded that I believed the version my mind was creating for me. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't eat. I had 3 pieces of sushi for dinner and had become my new norm in terms of splurging on dark chocolate. But I felt with my own crazy misconceptions and beliefs that were inside of me that I was actually healthier than most people, not the opposite. You see, I felt fine, and I surely didn't want a label. And I remember feeling not sick enough for the label that day. I remember walking out and just literally feeling this heaviness, almost like I needed to prove myself that I actually was anorexic. And I don't know if you've been there, but I felt that day. Like, oh my gosh, now I have this label. What if it's not true? And it was almost like an added boost to prove to myself, is this truth? Is this not truth? I remember not feeling sick enough. And then I came out of that fog, which I lived in there in that place for a few weeks. For a few weeks, I literally felt nothing. I continued doing all of the things I was doing despite the guidance received by my medical doctor at the time. I felt nothing. I literally felt nothing. Even despite the fact that I was told my organs were failing and I needed to change my life, I didn't believe it was truth. I didn't believe that they knew what they were talking about. I didn't want to believe it was the key. And so for weeks, I simply lived in a fog. And then one night, I came out of that cloud just questioning if my reality over the past couple years was actually all a lie. I literally had an epiphany moment where I was sitting on the bathroom floor crying out to God, if this is real, please save me. And I just remember sitting there questioning if my reality over the past years was all a lie. The more I researched and dove in, the more that I learned, because I have a very analytical side of me, even though I'm not an analytical person where I have to overanalyze every little thing, and maybe you do as well. But the more I looked into all the different eating disorders and the more I researched others that were experiencing the same things I was and doing the same thing I was, the more that I learned that I actually did have an eating disorder. And then as soon as I accepted my diagnosis was when I wanted it gone immediately. It was full acceptance, hit me upside the head with a brick, and I wanted it gone. And I wanted it gone quickly, but I wanted to remain the same. And sister, we know that that's the feeling that you might have right now, but that simply isn't something that can be. So if you're feeling right now like I just want this gone, I want to find freedom, but I just want to stay here, that is our safe brain, right? That's trying to keep us in a place of not experiencing discomfort. And that's when I knew I have to change. I'm going to have to trust this process that everyone around me who's been trying to get me help for months, I'm going to have to surrender it. I'm going to have to surrender it for everything that I've taught myself and known over the past couple years to truly, completely find freedom for my own self. And so I wanted it gone immediately. I felt broken. I felt tainted. I felt scared, confused, betrayed by my own self. How did I not see this coming? How did I not get hit by the tidal wave? How did I not see it? How did it get this bad? How could one possibly have organ failure and not even believe there was a problem? And then I realized it was so much bigger than me physically. This was a mental concern. And I knew at that moment, I don't care if I'm not ready in my heart yet to get help, even though I really wanted it. I knew that there wasn't an option. And so that is what prompted me to begin treatment. That is what prompted me to really come out of denial. It was a massive process for me. I literally still have that exact feeling when I think about the day that I left the doctor's office. I remember feeling defeated. And then I also remember feeling like I had to live up to the diagnosis that was just given to me. And I don't know about you, but one thing that's really hard about eating disorders is all of these labels. Not only do we label food and do we scan and know every single calorie on the labels on the back of every single thing that we allow to enter into our bodies, but we label ourselves. We label ourselves as not good enough and not small enough and not the best. We label ourselves as unworthy. We label ourselves as broken. Sis, maybe you're there right now. I want you to know, for one, you're not alone. I've been right where you are. And in being in the place that I am now, I have the opportunity to share with you, truly from the bottom of my heart, encouragement. Because when I left that doctor's office, I had absolutely no clue what I was doing next. All I knew was I was leaving with a diagnosis of something that I still didn't think was true. And then when I finally came to accept, I was able to do something about it. I want to encourage you. I have truly found freedom from my anorexia. But that day was so heavy and that day was so hard. And I remember sitting in that fog for a couple weeks. And maybe you're there. If this resonates with your heart, I want you to know that it's okay. Let's acknowledge that. And then I also want you to know there's another way out. But it's not going to be easy. It can be simple, but it's not going to be easy. The first step is literally sitting with yourself and getting real and present. And the second step is feeling your feelings and being okay with feeling your feelings and then accepting it. This is where I am right now. And if this isn't what I want to define my life, what am I going to do today right now to completely change the trajectory of my future? You see, when I was literally sitting on the floor crying out to God, something shifted. And it wasn't overnight for me. It wasn't aha. It wasn't any of that. It was just a mindset shift of, I don't know where I'm headed, but I can't stay here. I'm scared to freaking death. I'm scared to gain weight. I'm scared of what other people are going to think about me. I'm scared that I'll ever get better. And I doubted. And I wasn't ready. But sis, you don't have to be ready to surrender. I'm going to say that again. You don't have to be ready to surrender. If you're in denial right now, I encourage you to do your research. I encourage you to sit with yourself and get real with yourself. What is the reason that you're here listening today? And it doesn't matter how skinny you are, how much you eat. If there is a part of you that controls your food or manipulates your body, I encourage you to get help and support for that, because you are sick enough if this is in your life. And you don't even need a diagnosis for this to be a massive problem and concern. So setting that aside, I also wanted to share that the second part here, outside of denial and getting present with your thoughts, is that acceptance. Once you hit acceptance, like maybe this is something that I struggle with. Maybe all these people around me are right. Maybe everyone does care. Maybe I have been living into a false state and listening to these false beliefs. Then you have the power to do something about it. And that is where you will feel empowered. So I encourage you today, if this is you and you feel like you feel fine and everyone around you is the one that has a problem, I want you to lean into that. Is that truth? Are you fine? I can imagine that you're feeling probably lost and alone. Maybe you're feeling like, what do I do next? All of these feelings are real. Getting out of denial is hard. But I want you to ask yourself, what do you gain by staying here? What do you gain with your head in the clouds? What positive outcome are you currently seeing in your life from this controlling your life? So the first step is to get out of denial, get clear with your thoughts, feelings, and where you are. Literally write down your reality, and then also get present to where you want to be. Because if you can accept that right here is not where you want to be, then you can create the future, which is where you want to be, right? I encourage you today, if this is you, get support, reach out to a loving and caring friend, talk through how you're feeling, check in with your therapist. And if you're looking for coaching support, if you're looking for someone to give you some accountability because you feel like you just need that extra oomph, maybe you're still kind of in the wishy-washy phase. I totally get it. I needed that extra support myself, which is why I do this today with ladies across the globe. I want you to come on over to lindsaynickel.com and I want you to fill out a client application because, sister, I see you, I was you, And there is no shame in the game. But getting out of denial is one of the most massive things that you can do. I promise your future self will be thankful for it. Friend, I love you, and I hope you have a blessed week. And if this episode has blessed your heart, reach out to us at info@lindsaynickel.com. I would love to hear what you liked about today's show. And come hang out with us in our private Facebook community. You can find the link in the show notes below. Girl, I can't wait to welcome you. Until next time, bye for now, girl. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.